Thoughts on Activision saying they're going to discontinue Warzone if the launch of Verdansk doesn't do good at retaining players? Did they say they're going to discontinue it? When I try to Google discontinue Warzone, the first thing is you type in discontinue and it says Girl Scout cookies. I love Girl Scout cookies. It was mentioned that if Verdansk isn't a success, players aren't retained, then Warzone will be shut down before Call of Duty 2026 arrives. This comes as Warzone struggles under the weight of network issues, a plague of cheaters, lackluster updates that haven't given the community a sense of hope for the future, and the iconic Battle Royale. I mean, they still have a ton of players, but it's definitely fallen off a lot. But I mean, compared to the peaks, I mean, the peaks were insane. Back in the day, like when Warzone first dropped, like lockdown era, oh, it was massive. Presently, Warzone isn't being discontinued, but there's a very real possibility that it will be within the next year or so. If the leaks are to be believed, Verdansk will be the last shot the developers have at making Call of Duty Warzone an ongoing success. I don't know, man. I loved Warzone back in the day, but the problem was for me and for my friends is that it got really sweaty. It got flooded with cheaters, for one. They would regularly break it with guns that were super OP. And they just so happen to be selling the blueprints for those guns in the store. So I maybe it's conspiracy theory or what. I'm a firm believer, okay? Tinfoil hat. I'm a firm believer that they know damn well what they're doing. They are intentionally breaking the game regularly to sell you the solution. And so they update it with a gun that's just totally busted. And then they sell you that gun. So if you want to be competitive, you have to spend 15, 20 bucks on it. And they just do that regularly. And I'm just burned out, man. Like, I think it was after DMR Zone where I really started to just be like, what are we doing, guys? And I played for another handful of months, but it got to the point where if you were not bunny hopping constantly, if you weren't doing this, I just couldn't do it. And then once they did, was it whatever the World War II inspired one, once they did the Godzilla, like whatever crossover, I was like, okay, I think we've lost the plot. I think we're getting silly. Okay. Cause it was just, it sucked the fun out of it for me. Vanguard. I almost called it Veilguard. That game scarred me apparently. Maybe Luke should just get good. If I did, I'm sure I'd have more fun, frankly. And I used to go on tears in Warzone. I mean, I was a snipey boy. I would go crazy on the snipes. But man, it stopped being fun. And I that could be just because, you know, the game had been out for a while. And so it wasn't novel. It wasn't fresh anymore. Because that's going to happen with any live service game. You're going to play it for an hour or two or for like months or a year or two. And then you're just going to kind of drift away. That happens with every live service game, you know, and there's some exceptions that have, of course, stood the test of time and have gotten bigger as time has gone on. Like, you know, Rainbow Six is bigger than it ever has been. CSGO, League. I mean, these games are huge despite being years and years old. But I think most live service games, they typically whoop, and then they kind of start to trail off. So seeing them bring back Verdansk is intriguing. But if the core problem is cheaters, poor optimization, server issues, and breaking the game intentionally to milk you for more money, like, I don't think Verdansk magically fixes that. I'll pop back in. I'm sure I'm going to try it again. It's going to feel nostalgic and like, ooh, this is kind of fun. But I mean, after that, I don't think I'm going to go back, and my whole friend group and stuff is going to abandon everything else to go play it, you know? Siege is life. Yeah, dude. People don't realize how huge Siege is. But it's like I've said before, Ubisoft is a company with 20,000 employees. And based on that whole, you know, scale, they are kept afloat basically entirely by Rainbow Six and Assassin's Creed. Like occasionally they'll have a Far Cry that pops out, might make a little bit of money, but they basically have all of that. Oh, and Skull and Bones, you're right. They are being kept afloat by Skull and Bones. I forgot about that.